Hey everybody, welcome back once again to the New York Giants Madden 22 Rebuild franchise. We have finished the 2030 season. We've gone pretty deep into this franchise. And we're coming off a year that saw our team take a bit of a step back. We had the sudden retirement in season of Antonio Golson, who was one of the best pass rushers this series has seen. Azeez Ojulari kind of struggled, did not put up the same production that we've been hoping for from him. We have a big decision to make on him today as he is about to become a free agent. But between the retirement of Antonio Golson, the injury to Quandre Holt, let's go back into here, we were suddenly down maybe our two most important defensive players. And he's actually not shown here on the roster, but I mean, you lose like a 98 overall defensive lineman, your top pass rusher. You don't expect the defense to quite recover from those losses. However, we did a pretty good job, made it to the playoffs, did not get the 1 seed this year, but ultimately our season came to an end against the Detroit Lions in the division round, who ended up losing the Super Bowl to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we're at an interesting crossroads in the series because much of the franchise has been us building up what essentially has become a super team, winning 4 Super Bowls, but now age is catching up to those players. And there are so many hitting free agency this year that the contract demands are big and it's tough to keep this team around, and maybe not even the smartest decision because of everybody's age, like I said. So we have a lot of players that are in their 30s or at regression with age 29. And I started free agency last episode at the end. There were some easy decisions. I knew we wanted to keep Brian Petrovsky, for instance, and a couple other players. I do think that in Madden, you have to look at running back a lot differently than you would real life. 30-year-old running back getting a 4-year, $48 million contract. We know in real life that would be a bad idea. It's not always a good idea to do this for a player who's 26. But in Madden, running backs are more durable. They have a great impact on the offense, and the simulating still is really run game focused. And Tavares Towns' ability isn't going anywhere. Running backs don't decline like they do in real life. You know, I think a lot about the primes for Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson and how little time they spent at the top. This isn't the best benchmark, but consider that Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson together combined for 4 1,000-yard rushing seasons in their careers. Here in Madden, you get a lot more stability from the running back position, and it also takes longer for them to actually be productive, as you can see here with the career of Tavares Towns. So it's really weird how it works. It takes a few years sometimes for them to get there, but once they are, they'll stay there for 5 to 8 years. So in that case, I think I would be open to a contract here with Towns. Do I want to try to mess with the years and get something I like more? I'm probably not, because I don't want to be wrong here. I don't want to lose this, and the signing bonus isn't enough to scare me off if I have to cut him. But that wasn't enough, apparently. The tag is only 12.9, and he is a running back, and maybe regression would hit. I think we're going to end up tagging him. Next, let's go to Rashawn Graham. He's become the superstar receiver of the series, and most of these rebuilds have had at least one that was kind of the face of the offense in a way, like the face of the skill positions. Took him 2 years to finally get comfortable, and it's been nothing but big plays and 1,000-yard seasons for the last 6 years. This is a big contract, and it's risky to make these decisions on these older players. He's not as highly rated as some others. He has superstar development, not superstar X factor. But I don't want to see Rashawn Graham leave. He and Petrovsky have just been too good together. Let's go put the franchise tag now on Tavares Towns. And as I say, every time I apply it, pretty much, I don't think the franchise tag should exist. Here's an interesting one. We have Otis Springs, who has been really good in this series. And then Matthew Hearns, who's 6 years younger, 6 overall higher. Probably time to think about moving on from Springs, even though he can still play. And he has been very productive in this series. I tried to replace him a handful of years ago. That didn't go well. But I think at this stage, and we've seen Hearns play a lot actually, it's probably time to give a young player a contract as opposed to an older player. So he's racked up some experience in his time. And let's see if we get a deal done. 5 years, $53.7 million. Again, here is a tricky situation because tight end is a position in Madden that I do think you can punt. You can get production out of lower rated tight ends. But it's nice having good ones, isn't it? And Warren Griffith certainly is. A rare success story for me for drafting a tight end. Especially one that wasn't a receiver moved to tight end. We're going to make the move here. I'm going to be very aggressive giving out these contracts. In my series, I typically never end up cutting players and having to save money. But this is a situation where if we go through a couple more years like this, I might have to get out of one of these deals. That demand seems a lot more reasonable for Ojulari. 85 overall, 41 over 3. I think when it comes to the edge rushers, I want to see what the market looks like. I'm not convinced right now by Ojulari. I don't think I was convinced by David Camp, and he got to start after Golson retired. He was solid, but this is big money, so I want to know all our options. We'll come back to players like Dexter Lawrence. I think Jason Weaver is going to move on to a new team. And I think we're going to be okay starting over at kicker now with Justin Tucker losing a lot of kick power. We got him a long time ago in the series. I'm shocked every year he doesn't retire. But I think that kick power is just a little too low now to stay competitive. There are a lot of players I might come back to in free agency. But I want to see what everything looks like once we're there. Always good to have good backup linemen, so we'll sign Justin Elam. I'm giving the fair offer to Asante Samuel, but he's going to test free agency. And I'm going to let Hal Reed do the same. I like our offensive line. And I want to see in free agency what pass rushers are available at this point. Because I might be putting together a new tandem, and I want the flexibility to go after the best player there. So let's move on to unrestricted free agency. We'll take a quick glance at the roster. We drafted Lacey last year. I want to start working him into the starting lineup now. 3-star dev starters. And then this hole at right tackle, we could either fill it by playing Justin Elam or try to bring back Hal Reed or somebody else. We'll need some depth at tight end. Receiver situation looks solid. We could use a third. Antoine Vincent was productive, but I think that we could probably find a replacement. He wanted decent money in free agency. And then here, like I said, edge is now a major concern. And we still have to look at corner as well. So $60 million in cap space. That's plenty to bring in starters at edge and corner. And here we go. Nelson Galloway is the top-rated player, 99 overall, fullback. But there is Myles Garrett at 95. Hal Reed has plenty of teams interested. Then we have some offensive linemen. All right, let's go to the 4 edge rushing positions. Looks like we're going to be offering to Myles Garrett. Anybody else in the mid-80s at least? Azeez Ojulari. I'm open to a return. David Camp. So we're first going to be offering to Myles Garrett. Athleticism still there. The ability is still there. Every team should be interested. I'm going to offer... I want to try a 2-year deal. They like it when you throw on the extra year, and regression doesn't scare me at all. 113? Wow, I have to go way up, though. We're in the $20+ million range now. We do top Carolina. I want to win this. Now I wonder if I want to go back to a single year just because this is so much money. 120 points. We're in first there. I don't know if I want to go any higher. All right, 14 teams like David Camp, and nobody's interested right now in the veteran Ojulari. So I just kind of balked at 57 over 4, especially now. Like, if I give the fair offer, we're in 13th place. If I get up to 115, we're in third place, and I offered him 74 million over 4 years. I'm out. We do have 7 teams here interested in Joe Walker, but if no one's gonna show interest right now in Ojulari, I think I should try. I'm not going to put in like a massive offer. I want to be around the 70 point mark. Okay, 38's a lot less than that. 52. Okay, $11 million. I need to save some money to look at corners here. So Asante Samuel has 2 teams interested. Pat Leverett has a lot of teams interested. And he's the young player here in this class. What's interesting though is like the fair offer on corners is lower than a lot of other positions, but it's still a valuable position. 66 zone coverage, so he's a man coverage specialist, not a scheme fit. Maybe I'll just go back to Asante Samuel. I think before I simulate past this stage, though, I have to take a look at what the edge class looks like. And we're not picking at 32 this year. We didn't win the Super Bowl or anything. So why don't we just first go to the mock drafts? That's a nice starting point here. We have like 4 quarterbacks in the top 10, so that's ideal. Push the pass rushers down. Derek Bushrod. We got wide receivers. Another quarterback. Like, we might have 6 quarterbacks in the first round. And we are selecting at 25. And definitely willing to move up, especially for a position like edge. Derek Bushrod was projected at 7 to the Bears, but with C block shed, C power, well, he's an elite athlete. So he might actually be a solid choice, but like I said, he's so much higher than we're projected. So at the defensive end positions, we don't have much listed here early. Tavares Cadet. Looks like he's a good athlete. Nice acceleration and top speed. Don't know his pass rush moves, unfortunately. But he'd be an intriguing player to get more info on. At left outside linebacker, Daryl Dodson. Doesn't have good zone coverage, but hey, if you're a pass rusher, you don't need that. A power moves, B finesse. So, with A awareness as well. So, Daryl Dodson, immediately a target. Let's check out Jared Tracy quick. 6'2", 234. Some good athleticism here. Just one was bad. And D power. So you're hoping that he is a finesse rusher, but also F injury. Not as much of a sure thing. And 234 is pretty light for an NFL edge. Lance Humphrey. He's projected as a 2nd or 3rd. So this is not a strong edge class at the top. At all. So if you want somebody, you have to be early. I think you have only a couple options for starters, but Daryl Dodson would be my preferred to target. He's projected at 19, so that's actually a decent range for us to think about trading up from 25. For now, I'm going to pull the offer for Ojulari. Maybe come back to him later. Still targeting Myles Garrett. I still think that Dexter Lawrence would be quality depth to have at defensive tackle, so I'll offer him a deal. Let's move past this stage. And we've been rejected by both Asante Samuel and Myles Garrett. Wow. Garrett ends up taking a 1-year, $17 million deal to go with Detroit. I was offering over $20 million. Hal Reed gets a deal to go to the Seahawks. 4 years, 45 is really reasonable. I thought he was going to get more. The Seahawks have added 2 tackles here with star development. And Elijah Vera Tucker. Man, Russell Wilson's like, where was this when I was there? All right. Asante Samuel's going to the Colts. I think that he took less to go there. Josh Allen to the Vikings. That'd be pretty cool. David Camp to the Chargers. Got 57.8 over 4. And that was, another weird case where for me to be competitive, I had that placeholder offer of $74 million. And it wasn't even in first place. So I don't know. Weird year for free agency. But now we have holes we have to fill. I really thought we were going to get Samuel and Garrett. And what's unfortunate is they all sign at the same time. Like, if I knew those two weren't going to sign, but Hal Reed were still available, yeah, I'm offering him a contract. But you have to do it in waves, which makes it a little more challenging and fun. And the way it plays out in this game, too, is most of the top-rated free agents choose their team after the first round. So now, if we want to try to go get like a starting corner, for instance, you're not getting anybody on the level of Asante Samuel. Now I feel pretty desperate to get Azeez Ojulari back on the team. And Philadelphia's trying to bring him there. And they're going to make us really work here. Seriously, what do they offer? How high do you expect me to go with this? 114? I'm not topping them. I'm going to put out a good offer, and if he declines it, so be it. I'm not giving out a bad contract right now. I'll put out a really nice 1-year deal and leave it at that. Now we're going to offer a contract to corner Sidney Bass. Suddenly, looks like we're going to have some downgrades at a lot of positions with players moving on and free agency not going our way. Rejected by Ojulari. Can't be shocked about that. We get Sidney Bass, Dexter Lawrence, and a reunion with tight end John Bolden. So we had to add some tight end depth, and I'm familiar with Bolden. He was on the team for a while, spent some time away, and now can come back to be the second player there. And let's see, how long was he gone? 4 years? Yep, 4 years with us. 4 years with Cincinnati, where he was productive, but his yardage declined every single year. I feel like he caught way more passes with us, because I feel like there are so many highlights that play in my head, like some. Like, I remember a lot of John Bolden. How do I remember this stuff? Like, he barely played. So we're coming off a down season, and now you look at the way things are set up, and you're like, wait a minute, is this team really going to be declining like that? I still think we have a great offense. Justin Elam can start at right tackle. That's fine. There's Clapp as the 6th tackle. I think we have enough depth there. Maybe one more offensive lineman. How about a 3rd receiver? Let's start targeting that. At corner, I mean, Bass can play the slot. And then we drafted Jamario Hopkins. And it's time for him to play. So we lose out on Asante Samuel. But it's time for him to take over that role. And we're basically starting over from scratch when it comes to edge rushers. The only one we have right now is Donald Meadows. Donnie Meadows is in his 2nd year and has not played. We're at the trade block, and Luke Cook is here. The Steelers don't want Luke Cook. Since leaving us, he did go to Pittsburgh, where he's backed up there. And unfortunately hasn't been playing at all. Maybe a team will trade for him. Let's check out the edge rushers, though, here. Anybody in, like, the 80s first standing out? Doesn't look like it. Wow, if Myles Garrett had come to the Giants, he probably would have broken the sack record here. But he'll do it in Detroit instead. What if we try to make a move here for somebody like Gio Tull? He's not as old as some of the other pass rushers, but he's a fantastic player. Bengals weren't very good a year ago. They're picking 4th, I think. They had the 4th worst win percentage in the league. He's been a steady pass rusher, even if his best days are behind him. Unfortunately, I don't think we really have a good way to address their needs. I'm not trading away players at those positions. And a 2nd round pick doesn't even open the door. I look through the team too, like, all right, where's the depth that you'd be willing to trade? There really isn't any anymore. The depth is gone. I think that if I had to pick, I would trade away somebody like Patrick Perkins, who's a solid player, not an elite player. He had 10 sacks last year, though. He could definitely still have a high ceiling. Bengals do like him. But even if I had Patrick Perkins and a 2nd round pick to start conversations, we're not going to get a deal done. Don't even know what I'm going to do about edge rusher this year. All right, Deion Myers, 5th year option. Go ahead and pick that up. Why don't we offer a contract to Bradley Chubb? We are so desperate right now for just a starting edge. We have to bring in a veteran. And Chubb has declined a lot, but we just have to give him an offer. Bradley Chubb accepted the contract. So we have a starting edge rusher. Here is the final mock draft now. Derek Bushrod at 7. Edge rush is so much of a need, and it was a huge strength for so much of this series. Dodson they have now going to the Cowboys. I cannot allow that to happen. They have us taking a running back. I have no running backs on my board. The game just knows who I am. Checking out the individual workouts here on these pass rushers. Tavares Cadet, D power moves. We did not get finesse. Got really unlucky. But probably not a 1st round player. I think it's still Daryl Dodson is really the only option we can trade up for. Elite strength, elite acceleration, A power, B finesse, B block shed. He can do a lot. And that's what you need with a rookie starter. So in this draft, we should look out for potential 3rd receivers. But the focus has to be on getting edge rush. And we know the player we want to target. But this team certainly is not where it was a handful of years ago. Free agency, even if it had gone well, this team still wouldn't be on the level of a few of those Super Bowl teams. So let's get into the 2031 NFL Draft. We want quarterbacks early and often. We want to think about trade-ups, I think, as soon as we get to like 13. Quarterbacks go at 1, 2. How about the Rams? No. I feel like they never take a quarterback. But quarterbacks do go for the first 5. Patriots don't this year. There goes Derek Bushrod, so it's kind of as we expected so far. Receivers and corners should start to go. We got back-to-back receivers. 3 in a row. Johnny Glenn, there's the corner. Hayden Godwin. And Zach Edwards. So we definitely want to leapfrog Dallas. We are able to do it at the cost of a 2nd round pick. I think that's fair. So we had the extra picks. I had to use one to move up. And that's going to allow us to select an edge rusher who needs to start very early. Daryl Dodson is the pick. Hidden development. 79 speed, 91 acceleration, and 84 strength. Hopefully he's ready to go. We still have a 2nd round pick though. So now I don't know exactly what my plan is from here. But I don't feel like we're in a position to be trading up a bunch. So we got, if our starting tandem is Chubb and a rookie, it's not ideal, but it's not going to get any better in the 2nd round. So at this point now, you need 3rd receiver, maybe a corner. Just kind of BPA and maybe don't trade up unless there's a player that's really undervalued. 3 running backs have gone in the first round, 4 running backs, and like 8 quarterbacks. When I go through the draft recap, it's going to be hilarious. I've gotten through some of the players here in this range, late 2, and I think that I'm better off trading down from this spot. I'm going to make a deal here with the Vikings. We'll get their 3rd round pick next year and a 7 while getting an extra 4 this season. And the Vikings moved up for Tavares Cadet, who was on my board. I was curious about how good he was. Can I find a way to make these picks count now? We have 2 3s, 2 4s, 5, 6, 7. No more trade downs. Receiver Tevin Griffin has been falling, and I'm hoping that this is a good spot to take him. C release, B spec catch, B ball carrier vision for what that's worth. He's a 4.5 speed guy, but he had decent change of direction, good agility, and he's 6'3", 227. We're going to end his slide here, bottom of the 4th or 3rd round. There's actually only one 3rd round pick this year, apparently. I don't know. My game crashed, or not crashed, but I got kicked off the servers and the game froze. I don't think it skipped a pick or anything. All right, 5 picks to go. Here in the 4th round, I want to take corner Britton Irons. He's got good size. He's a little slower than I would like, marginal speed, but B awareness, B catching, C man coverage. Not expecting him to be an early contributor, but we have to rebuild some depth on this team. Normal development and 88 speed, we can handle that. Let's work on our offensive line depth now. With this selection, we're going to take Tucker Jeffries. Next, we'll bring in a 2nd pass rusher, and we're going to select Tyree Hunt. This one here is going to be a guess, but in the 6th round, defensive tackle Evan Broyles. He had the best bench press, so he's going to have good strength, but he also has good acceleration as well. Skill-wise, we know he doesn't have good finesse moves, but we're not expecting that. F stamina, D pursuit. Hopefully there's something good in there. And with our final pick of the day in the 7th round, we're going to select tight end out of Notre Dame, a school that puts out a lot of good tight ends, Joey Malone. Normal dev. So we only get 1 hidden dev player in this class, and I'm just hoping we have a couple players who might be good depth. Here's the recap. Was not a great off season for us. All right, Irons was a 72. Let's check out the players now. Daryl Dodson, he's got to play right away. Day 1, day 0 starter. 84 strength, good power, finesse, and block shed combo on day 1. We just want to see him get out there and get experience right away. I came back with the receiver Tevin Griffin in the 2nd round. Similar build to Rashawn Graham. Not as much speed, not a great route runner, but there's so much more to work with. And you can work on the routes and we can decide which ones are a priority. But if he already has 83 catching and 74 release, that's a good starting point. Drew Williams, left end here. 6'3", 291. I didn't select Drew Williams. That must have happened when my game, like I got kicked off the servers, and then, I don't know, I had a dialogue box, and I just had to close the game because I wouldn't respond. So it simmed this pick. I didn't select Drew Williams. He was on the board, but as a defensive lineman, he doesn't really have anything in a good spot to play at all right now. Britton Irons, cornerback. 6'2", 209, man coverage, 88 speed. He has decent ratings at least to get started. And then Tucker Jeffries, 64 overall tackle. Thought he might come in higher rated. We had a couple of the good skills unlocked, but those were like the best ones, it looks like. And then Tyree Hunt, second edge rusher we select. He has a little power move in his game, a little block shed. Not mad at that one. And then Evan Broyles. This was a guess, hoping for good run stopping skills. And he's at least pretty strong, but that's all right now. And then we close it out, Joey Malone, 58 overall. Maybe he makes the roster just to have 3 tight ends, but we'll have competition. I was curious about the Vikings trading up. They did so to select Tavares Cadet in the second round, 68 normal. If you take like 2 edge rushers in one class, he's not like a bad second player to come back with in this range. But yeah, the quarterbacks went early and often. So 4 in the top 5. 5th one here, Hayden Godwin. 6, 7 in the first round. Top player, Eddie Roundtree, picked bottom of the second round. Normal development on the best player in the class, who's got a good start for the entire safety hybrid skill set. That's pretty awesome. The running backs, we had 2 really good ones taken here later in the first round. We had some quarterbacks that looked to be pretty solid choices. I'm not sure there's ever been a better chance for undrafted players to make a team in this series. Receiver Jabari Moss will be signed. He looks to be more of a slot archetype. We're going to sign a tackle, Dorian Whitfield. 85 strength, 70 run blocking. Good against powerful rushers. Not a rookie, but we're going to sign Kasim Cole to be depth. Little block shedding ability in there. And safety Gabe Golden, who has 66 zone, 66 tackling. We're relying on a lot of young players on this team, and 5 of these 6 focus players are going to be starters. So we're going to need a lot of players to step up and for this offense to be pretty awesome to make up for what we've lost. One player I don't want to forget about is Brian Chamberlain, and I selected him last season in the 3rd round. And he was a big edge rusher. I still have him listed here at left end. I'm about to change it. But he did get up to 79 power moves. And he might be the 3rd edge now coming off the bench. If we have to make a move at some point this year, we do have $32 million in cap space. And that's because I tried to make signings, it didn't work out, and there just wasn't anybody left to try and sign. Although I wish I had brought back Antoine Vincent. I think that would have taken care of the slot receiver role a bit more reliably. All right, we have a couple scenarios playing out here. Camp standout, Daryl Dodson, the rookie. All right, let's go with tackling here. He's got to do a lot as a first-round pick, stepping in for Azeez Ojulari. I was hoping we wouldn't have to replace both edges at the same time, but we essentially are. But we also have receiver mentorship. We need someone to step up, and right now Rayshawn Graham is really impressed with Khalil Jenkins. And if he's going to play, he's just got to get open. Show him how it's done on those medium routes. 2 release, 2 medium route running. So we do go 2-1 during the preseason. Let's take a look at our stats. 2 touchdowns for Petrovsky, 1 interception for each of the 2 quarterbacks this year. On the ground, Tavares Towns, 4 yards a carry. 3.9 for Bobby Webster, entering his 4th season now. And we'll see if he's able to contribute when it's his time. Receiving, John Bolden, Warren Griffith lead the way, and then Bobby Webster. Not much here from any specific receiver. We spread the ball around a lot to the depth receivers. Khalil Jenkins, though, got the mentorship boost. For the offensive line, Justin Elam is the new starter. He gives up 3 sacks. And then defensively, Daquan Bird, 3 sacks. Quandre Holt, 2.5. We still have a really good defensive line. But what is the edge rush tandem going to give us between Chubb and Dodson? 3 sacks combined here in the preseason. Anything here for Chamberlain? He got 4 tackles. Interceptions for Quentin and Chris Brooks. Also keep in mind a new kicker this year, Scott Faulkner, as we move on from the great Justin Tucker. And Faulkner has 96 kick power, 83 accuracy. I should have upgraded his accuracy there, but it probably would have just gone towards awareness anyway. So this is going to be an interesting year. The camp standout scenario continues. And here is the rookie. Wearing number 54, Daryl Dodson. Is he ready to take over for some really good pass rushers throughout this series? His breakout can continue if he gets off to a strong start in week 1. But looking at the team we have this year, the first thing that comes to mind is that we cannot handle injuries on offense. I think that this is what's going to carry the team this year. I know we don't have the same depth, so the starters hopefully stay healthy. And then on defense, I really don't know what to expect. I think they'll at least be like an average defense. Cunningham's really good. You got Quandre Holt and Jason Quinton. If the edge rush can at least give us something, then maybe we'll be just fine. We do win the week 1 game against the Jets, 14-10. Low scoring. 1 touchdown for Brian Petrovsky, 1 interception. Very little production here on the ground. Jamar Chase is a Jet, 109 yards for him, as Warren Griffith led us today. Andrew Vallejo gets 4 catches. All right. Deion Myers just the 2. Quandre Holt had 3 sacks in his first game of the season. We had a really good pass rushing day. Bradley Chubb gets 1. And let's see. Dodson had 2 tackles. Not much else. I think that's the end of his potential breakout. Might take a little time. We also win against the Buffalo Bills, this time putting up 35 points, a really dominant win. 3 touchdowns for Brian Petrovsky. You can't forget about how good the quarterback is. 2 scores for Bobby Webster, and receiving 3 touchdowns for Warren Griffith. What a start for him this season. And Daryl Dodson picks up the first sack of his season and career. Bradley Chubb gets 1 as well. And then Sidney Bass, the new slot corner. There you go. First interception. And Scott Faulkner missed a field goal. A breakout player scenario in week 3 against the Cowboys. Landry Haskins, the free safety. He's a normal development starter, so this would be huge for him. Let's get some upgrading going here for players like Brian Chamberlain. The upgrading is actually really interesting again with the team not as good as it once was. Tyler Lacey is in his 2nd year, starting now at left guard. There's a power upgrade. With Dodson now, he has better power than finesse, but they're both pretty good. Probably go with like a 2-to-1 approach there. 2 power upgrades, then a speed. It's nice having some balance in there. All right, it's been all about the Cowboys and the Giants in this series. We meet here in week 3. Both teams are 2-0. Statement-making win there, 42-26. It's all Giants in this one. 3 scores for Brian Petrovsky, 3 for Aiden Blanton. Tavares Towns is starting slow, and Bobby Webster is taking all the touchdowns. Deion Myers scores twice in the air. And defensively, a sack for Chubb. That's 3 in 3 games. And Patrick Perkins gets 1. Bass with his 2nd pick. The Giants have started 5-0. And we're putting up a lot of points, actually, in most of these games. We avenge our playoff loss against the Detroit Lions, winning 27-10. Couple interceptions in there for Brian Petrovsky. Webster keeps finding the end zone. I mean, how is a backup running back going to score this many touchdowns? We have a scenario. Perfect chemistry with Brian Petrovsky and Malik James. Really? James hasn't really been getting a lot of playing time for what I've seen, but he's got a breakout chance out of nowhere against the Vikings. So far this season, looks like James has 1 catch for 29 yards. Why did that even pop up? How about a breakout chance for Bobby Webster, who has 7 touchdowns? He is tied right now for the league lead. I'm honestly shocked we're undefeated. We're 6-0. 3 touchdowns in this game for Brian Petrovsky. 1 for Tavares Towns. Stephon Becton is their new starter. John Bolden goes for 9, 137, and 1. This year is just full of surprises. We actually have a really good team again. And Bradley Chubb has been great. Let's take a quick break to talk about the players we have to think about signing for next year. And now we have to decide on a 30-year-old Jason Quinton, 29-year-old Christian Tolbert, Tavares Towns again, AJ Cole, Patrick Perkins, Daniel Clifford, the fullback, Justin Elam. We'll see, Sidney Bass. It's certainly not as difficult as a year ago. We get it started here by offering a deal to Christian Tolbert, but he turns it down. We are a perfect 9-0 going into the bye week, and we just blew out Green Bay and Chicago in back-to-back weeks. Picked up 3 interceptions against Jordan Love. Big day for Towns. Vallejo 4 for 68 and a touchdown. Myers goes for 100 yards. Yeah, I thought we'd have a chance to develop another slot receiver the way Antoine Vincent broke out 2 years ago. So I wasn't super aggressive there. 3 picks is always nice. Britton Irons even gets 1. This is definitely not what I had in mind this year, especially when you look at the step back we took as a team a year ago. So what's the primary difference? Well, I think that nice job here by Khalil Jenkins. But Quandre Holt's been healthy. I know that. Landry Haskins gets a pick. Same with Gresham. And Bradley Chubb has been really good. This is incredible. He leads the team with 8.5 sacks, 9 games into the season. This is the most sacks he's had since 2028, a couple teams ago. Who would have thought that right now we'd have the #1 scoring offense and the #1 scoring defense? We're 8-0. First loss comes against the Dallas Cowboys. Of course. Just can't have an easy time against them really at any point. They win by a couple of scores. Then we get blown out by Denver. I'm starting to wonder, like, the bye week now has a couple more options. And choosing the rest and relaxation, or now they call it a team bonding retreat. It's a boost to morale, but it drops awareness. And this is not the first time that I've simmed coming out of the bye, and we suddenly have losses you wouldn't expect. I don't think that you treat that the same anymore. I think that you got to change it up at this point. After winning our first 9, we've lost 4 straight coming out of the bye week and have not put up more than 23 points in these games. We lost to Washington, their competition now to win this division, and suddenly losing 4 games in a row definitely tightens the standings a bit. Everybody is still in it. We have an injury to check up on here after the San Francisco loss. Jason Quinton torn labrum, not good news. The team is falling apart. What went wrong on that team bonding retreat? 35 unanswered points. Darren Maddox, 3 touchdowns. And the Eagles just took over first place in the NFC East with us dropping loss number 5 in a row. We're back on track against Atlanta, but how much damage does that losing streak do? Petrovsky had 3 touchdown passes. We finally have a good day on offense again. I don't know why it took us so long to get back to this play, but hopefully there's still time to get the division wrapped up. We split the season series against Philadelphia. We have 1 game left in Week 18. The Eagles are ahead of us by 1 game, so if they win, it's their division. Otherwise, it goes to a tiebreaker. And the Eagles have won the NFC East this season. We started the year 8-0, but finished as a wild card team taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first round. That was a really shocking turning point, and I wonder now how it would have gone without that team bonding retreat. What happened? We closed the year losing 2 games in a row by identical scores. It wasn't long ago we had the top scoring offense and the top scoring defense, but both regressed to 7 and 10 respectively. Still a good season. I mean, if you sim it all at once and you see top 10 offense, top 10 defense, 10 and 7 record, you feel pretty good about that considering the starting point. But when you see how it unfolded, don't feel that great going into the playoffs. Let's check out our stats for this year. As Brian Petrovsky put up 31 and 14. I mean, his stats almost are identical year to year. Tavares Towns scored less touchdowns than Bobby Webster, his backup, but had 1,300 rushing yards. Deion Myers was the leading receiver. 9 touchdowns compared to Graham's 4. Beat him in yards, touchdowns, and receptions. Keep in mind the big deal that Graham is on. Not like super worried about it, but I mean, that's regression. That's 2 years in a row he hasn't caught a pass longer than 30 yards, which is also something to be concerned about. Warren Griffith was great. Looks like Khalil Jenkins was pretty productive in the slot. How about sacks allowed? 11 for Tolbert to lead the team. That's surprising. Defensively, 3 players with 100 tackles, including Jamario Hopkins. 20 sacks for Quandre Holt. Okay, where did those all come from? He's one of those players that can come out of nowhere with multi-sack games and had a couple down the stretch. I think he had more games with multiple sacks than he had games with 1. 14 sacks, though, for Bradley Chubb, 10 tackles for a loss. Daquan Bird, 7.5 sacks. Daryl Dodson, 4.5 with 70 tackles. So not like a dominant edge rusher in his rookie season. His archetype is, his development is star. But I think I'll go with a speed rushing boost now. But still nice to get him this experience. And we'll see if he's able to find that ceiling at any point here in the near future. Matthew Hearns, very productive, stuffing the stat sheet in all categories. Patrick Perkins. He didn't get a lot of playing time suddenly. What happened? I had him listed as the top D tackle. Actually, yeah, he did, but he wasn't a top rush D tackle. That was Holt and Bird, I'm pretty sure. So he didn't produce a ton. And then a few interceptions here. Scott Faulkner missed 7 kicks. That was one of the worst in the league. He was the second worst, full-time kicker this season. I thought now was the right time to make that move. Maybe I was wrong. To lead the league, Baker Mayfield with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had over 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. How do you doubt Baker Mayfield? 3 players with 40 touchdowns this season. Interception leader Clay Palmer and Kyler Murray had 21 each. On the ground, Only 1372 for Carlos Swinton of the Seattle Seahawks. Saquon Barkley still getting big seasons. He might end up taking the rushing title just because the all-time title, that is. I mean, he's been so productive. He's spent 5 years with the Chargers now. He's been with the Chargers in this series long enough to run for 83 touchdowns. If we add in all the receiving touchdowns, he scored 102 with them. Is his legacy with the Chargers better than the Giants? Receiving, DeMarcus Washington was number 1, but Kadarius Toney was number 2. Wow. He's been gone for the same length of time, 5,000-yard seasons. He had 0 with us. 6 interceptions here for Surtain and Raekwon Boone. 20 sacks for Geo Tull. No wonder they wouldn't trade him to us. But Quandre Holt got his 20, and they'll share the sack title for this season. Lamar Jackson is the MVP. I said that a year ago. For the awards now in the NFC, we got Baker Mayfield and Quandre Holt taking home some hardware. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Eddie Roundtree. He was the number 1 rated player, that safety, right? Dotson came in second, just didn't get the sacks. That wasn't a Rookie of the Year season he put up. So, another year in the books. Bradley Chubb, best linebacker. But now, we have a playoff run to get through. We got knocked out in the second round a year ago against the Detroit Lions. What's going to happen this time around? Big win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We intercept Baker Mayfield 3 times in this game. That's right, it's not Daniel Jones as their starter anymore. That just hit me. We picked off Baker 3 times on our way to a victory. Tavares Towns had a 43-yard receiving touchdown, and the interceptions went to Quinton, Hearns, and Cunningham. That gives us a matchup with the number 1 seed, Seattle Seahawks. But we also have injuries going into this game. Bobby Webster and John Bolden, 2 backups, will miss the rest of the season. To fill those spots, we're going to sign Damian Glass at running back and bring back our old friend Josh Meadows at tight end. We beat the 1 seed Seahawks in a close game. There was not a lot of passing production for Brian Petrovsky in this one, as Tavares Towns ran for a lot of yardage, and Damian Glass stepped in to handle 9 carries for 40 yards. We had a touchdown for fullback Daniel Clifford. That got the crowd going wild. And obviously not many receivers standing out if the quarterback doesn't. Defensively, looks like a sack for Holt, a sack for Bird. And now we have a rematch. The Giants take on the Detroit Lions with a spot in the Super Bowl on the line. And we will not have Sidney Bass in this game either, with a torn labrum. We're going to sign the former Lion then, Jeff Okudah. And the Giants are going to the Super Bowl, 31-24. We figured it out here just in time in the playoffs. Petrovsky only throws for $180. Towns 190 this time. Over 200 yards between him and Damian Glass. The running game steps it up for us in the postseason. And we are headed back to the Super Bowl once again in this series. What a roller coaster ride of a season. The high of an 8-0 run, the low of losing 5 straight, and then getting it together just in time for a playoff run. Myles Garrett does not go to the Super Bowl this year because he did not pick the New York Giants. Hey, he picked a good team though. He did pick a team that was almost a number 1 seed. They were in the Super Bowl a year ago. Storyline-wise, you know, they were in the Super Bowl last year. We were on the decline a little bit. So he just picks the new, fresh team. Just didn't work out for him. So that means we have a Super Bowl matchup against the Denver Broncos. And what I'll do is next episode, we're going to go through that Super Bowl and beyond. Like, if it's an amazing Super Bowl, it'll be its own episode. If it's not an amazing Super Bowl, then we'll just start the offseason and just keep it going. Wow. We are playing for a title once again. This would be number 5 of the series. Denver had the best scoring offense, third best scoring defense. We have 2 teams that were juggernauts this season. Let's check out their team. Benny Pierman at left guard, Rashawn Hooker at left tackle. That's right, they have a really good line. Last time we saw them, I thought it was going to be Javonte Williams getting a ton of work, and they didn't end up using him enough. DJ Spiegel didn't play well, but that was a different defense. This season, I don't even know what to expect. Watching a game with this defense is going to be a new experience, I would have to think. Unless the offensive line, defensive line matchup favors us so much that you can't tell the difference. But yeah, this is a good team here. Patrick Surtain, they have Jose Felix. So we got a Super Bowl next episode, a chance to add to the trophy case, and that should be a good time. I hope you enjoyed today's video. That was quite the ride. Like, the offseason also was like not going our way. Things were really not as simple as they've been in the past. But where do we end up? With a chance to add another Lombardi. That will do it for this episode, everybody. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The Giants franchise is not done yet. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.